Hey, Samir.
Hey, good morning, Steve.
Good day. Good morning. Good day. Whichever.
No, this is a good day. This is a great day. I'm in the office, and Rakesh is in the office as well. So he and I are together.
Oh, okay. So you're sharing the same.
Yeah, he's here
That's
too.
Samir and Rakesh.
Yes, it doesn't happen very much. Like it's, you can count it on one hand how many times it has happened.
Yeah, we're kind of in this interesting spot too, because just from logistics, they moved us twice during COVID, just from a building perspective. So some people opted for offices. I opted not for an office. So it's interesting to think about people going back to the office and where you sit and so forth. So it's I miss the 3D interaction. So I have to figure out how we're going to handle it.
Okay, let's see. I did not put an agenda. Actually, I did put one agenda, I think. Let me see where my notes are.
I did see the a directory structure PR. I haven't had a chance to review it, but it's good to see that. Did that start to address the security and location?
Rakesh, what do you think? Like the directly structured PR that Shive has, then would it or are discussion happening on it for the security implications you were talking about last time?
No, I don't think so. I think we need to start a common thread on that PR.
Just from a threat model perspective, the notation client should absolutely be able to read a policy. The question is, during the execution of a notation verification, could code that's run in that space go change the policy and effectively allow a bad actor to have its content approved? That's the threat model, I guess, if you will. Why I'm suggesting you would have to change the policy, whether it's a notation key add or adding the file to disk. It doesn't matter. It's what is the permission model that would allow somebody, because again, from a bad actor perspective, they don't need a simple API. As long as they have permissions, they'll write the code to achieve it. So the question is, from a security perspective, are we really securing the node if code executing in that space could just go alter the policy?
Rakesh, do you want to comment on that, or are you? Because that's an area I'm not well versed in. Steve, do you want to rephrase it? I want to make sure that.
Yeah, sure. So like our whole promise here is that notation verify is only allows content that's signed by entities that are trusted.
Notation verify only allows content signed by trusted entities. Correct, yes, because that's in the trust store. Yep.
Right. So the question is, who can edit the trust store?
Yep.
If during a notation verify, and especially in something like a build action script, because build action scripts, of course, run all kinds of code, can somebody alter the trust store policy? If I can bring in do a git clone and I'm running a build script, can my build script change the trust store policy to allow bad actor code to be run? Or,
Okay.
So if that's the case, then we didn't really solve the security problem. So the assumption, and I'm totally saying it's an assumption, it's a proposal for how we solve it, is the trust store policy files are in the non-user role. As I just think of that, you have to sudo into change that trust store policy. So it doesn't matter whether there's a notation key add API or I edit or I drop the file on the node myself, as part of the node configuration. but the idea is that it is an elevated level of privileges that allow you to configure the trust store so that code executing in the build process doesn't allow changing the trust store.
I'm aligned with that now. Yeah, I agree. I think those controls, but we can work on those controls offline. Somebody can do a PR and we can comment on that. But yeah, I think that I see what you're saying now better.
David, are you adding yourself as a meeting chair, or did you mean to add yourself as the attendee?
Oh, I am adding everybody as an attendee who I see. Oh, sorry,
You're adding it to
my
the
bad.
meeting chair
I added the
rotation,
wrong
which
place.
is
Sorry.
fine. We could definitely.
I was doing
rotate
it for
the meeting chair.
David. Sorry, I've been doing it. Maybe I should tell everybody to just add themselves. I'm just trying to keep meeting notes and run the meeting. Okay. Yeah, no, I think with your permission, I think I would like to go and dive into the agenda items I had. I think last Thursday was a very good meeting. We looked at where everybody asked with their action items. Like you noticed, Steve, we realized that we are behind on a couple of those action items, and Shiva gave us new dates. And so Milind and I were talking about some of those new dates, and some of them have implications on dependencies and stuff like that. So I wanted to take a quick minute, or not a quick minute, but a couple of minutes to stop of what we learned Thursday and a proposal going forward to track more often and more regularly and ask for dates and updates more regularly and quickly was one thing I wanted to do. And probably in this meeting, quickly run down the list of pending action items and see if we have an update. I know Shiva is not here today, so we'll have to wait on Shiva's action item. But I think from other action item perspective, or some things that Milind and I, and Rakesh, got to discuss after Shiva gave us an update, we wanted to go through them as well. So let me share my screen. Before I do that, David, you were pinging me yesterday as well. Do you have an agenda you want to discuss quickly as well?
Yeah, I do actually. I wanted to talk about kind of the new and kind of show the new proposal and just how we start to manage all the backlog for the notary project. So
Okay.
there's a bunch of stuff I did.
Yep, I noticed.
So yeah, so that it doesn't have to be now, but yeah, I'd like to cover that.
Okay. Anybody else put anything else on the agenda they want to discuss today? And we'll, compartmentalize our time and look through it.
I do have an update on the PKCS 8.10.12 conversation. So,
Okay, let me add this, David, on project management.
Yeah, this is Ivan. I was just curious on the notation plugin. I've done some testing, and I kind of hit a snag with how the verification is done. So just I know. I think Steve, you mentioned switching over to the cozy format. So, anyways, just wanted to potentially see where that's going.
yeah, two separate things, right? So one, awesome that you're testing it, and awesome that you found something that's broken, because that means that you are stress testing it enough. So that's awesome to kind of get the validation of where we're going with it and what bugs that we need to solve before we ship an RC1. And then completely separate is the signature format conversation. So I'd love to have both of those. So without drilling into the answer, both are great agenda items.
Okay, let's go through it then. Do you want me to share my screen?
Samir, a quick note. I'm available only till 9:30. I need to jump into another meeting. I think I want to address at least be there for the PKCS 11 and plugin related conversations. If we can do that ahead.
Yeah, let's quickly run the spreadsheet and then we'll jump on those items, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Actually, I may need your help on the spreadsheet as well, Milind, after our conversation yesterday on it. So do you want to start with the, here's my screen sharing. Sharing my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Rakesh is also here. He can give you feedback on that.
So I'm sharing my screen right now. I think we're going to skip through the item. So Milind, are you good with number 1? Are you done with number 1? Close to being done on line number 7? The verification
is still work in progress. I haven't published a PR yet.
Okay, maybe going to PR. Okay. Shiva, we know we're working on that separately. Steve, your two items, I think we wanted to, if you had more conversation with Sajid about it offline or not, and just agree on the proposal and just move forward with it. The way I see it, we just need,
You're talking
minimum
about
3 commands.
lines 9 and 10, just to make sure I'm following.
yeah, line number 9 and 10.
Okay.
Okay, okay. I'll keep it work in progress, but I think
Goodness.
as implementers, we need to finish that and design our end-to-end CLI testing around it.
I think I want to spend a bit time on that.
Okay.
We had questions previously on the scope of this item, etc. Steve will start getting blocked on this item. We need the spec for implementers to go and implement it.
I'm still a little not completely following what we're blocked on versus the discussion, because this, so I'm struggling because I want to spend more time on it. I've just been playing whack-a-mole on the next round of stuff.
The scope is just sign and verify command and all the switches associated with it.
Right.
We don't
And
need to cover the whole command set at this point. I think
Okay.
the main ones are sign and verify.
So we have
looking for,
commands today. I think the question, so though, like if you just call notation sign -- help, you'll get the output, and notation verify -- help, you get the output. Is there?
So that's what was implemented in
Right.
Alpha 1.
Yep.
I want somebody with a product hat to look at that experience, think about what customer scenarios we're supporting. I think there were some thoughts around how do we support, take digest as input, tag as input. There's some concerns around security when you take tags as input, address some of those concerns as well.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is I'm seeing us have that discussion. I understand what you're trying to get at. I'm trying to figure out, is it that PR the right vehicle for that? Because today we already support tags to like I commented somewhere on this just yesterday around the tags to digest conversion. Like we already support that today. And if we take it out,
I would just say that if we support it today, till it is out, you're talking about baseline Alpha 1, which things can be changed on what.
Sure, things can be changed, but that's what I'm questioning is it's not clear to me that changing it makes it more secure. That's the thing, right? Because this is why I wrote that discussion topic of usable does not equal secure. Overly usable does not equal insecure, right?
Again, sorry to interrupt. I think PR is the right place to have those kind of debates. Same as we are having with signature format, directory structure, etc. We have kind of reiterated what we want to see in this spec.
I hear you, but you haven't addressed the separation of security
around
and
the
usability.
usability and security. It needs to be specifically applied to cases that it has some general guidance that you could or could not apply in this case. The spec will allow everybody to comment and say, this is the right model, this is the switches that we want to support.
Okay, I think we need a discussion around balancing usability and security, which is what the discussion 159 is. Because I
agree with
think
that, Steve. I think, yes, I think like somebody like you with the customer hat on from a product perspective saying, these are the switches we need to support for sign, verify, inspect. And those three are the main commands.
The usability versus security is a pretty broad topic. I want that to be applied in context of like every scenario. So when we are talking about signing, we can just talk about usability versus security in the context of signing, and that will happen when we have a PR. We can't have a separate doc that just talks about it at a high level, because you need to apply that principle to every scenario and say what is the kind of balance in this particular scenario.
Totally agree. But what I'm getting at is the reason I put that as a separate discussion as opposed to individual PR is I think it's what you just said, is does need to get applied to all of ours. But I don't know if we've really agreed on that model. And that's what I want to make
There's,
sure we do agree on
at
the
a high
model.
level, there is no single model. Each place, like the trust store, etc., sign whether digest or tags are supported. Each needs to be clarified and say this is the threat associated with doing this way or that way, and this we accept that this is a reasonable way to do it that gives the balance. There can't be a single determination that applies throughout the project, right? You have to apply that to each decision.
Sure, totally agree. What I'm getting though is I don't know if we've really finished the conversation of security versus usability, because I think once we,
I don't think it's a separate discussion. It needs to be had in the context of each specific decision that we are making.
do we agree that making something easy to use does not make it insecure? I think is the question.
You can't generalize it.
I can, but that is my point, because we've gotten into this conversation, for instance, that we can't add a key add API because it makes it too easy, as opposed to, do I have permissions to do it, is really the question from a security perspective.
If you want to open a separate issue just for that, or a discussion just for that aspect, we can engage on that.
I did. That's what
We can
159
take a
is.
general take on whether security versus usability, and we'll just be going in circles there.
Well, but
We want
that's my
separate
point. If we can
discussions
agree on
about-
the premise of that balance, then, for instance, it becomes the framing conversation to this tag. So for instance, and this is what I put in one of the PRs I commented yesterday, the day before, that to pull out the tag to digest conversion because it makes it more secure.
I'm sorry,
don't see how that's possible.
just in the benefit of time. I'm not saying we pull out. I understand that we need to support it, but there are ways to support it that makes it more obvious to end users that that's not the most secure model. You need to be passing tags, and that's what I want some thought to be put into. Like,
Agreed. And that's the one I
sign-
commented. I don't believe just adding -- force, yeah, that one right there solves the problem. Because
Right, I want other thoughts there, right?
okay.
So we'll
I
have
did
that
provide an alternative. I did say from, in the docs, including the docs that come from -- help, would even prioritize tag digest first if we want. Now, the problem is depending on the context of how it's being executed, the user doesn't have the digest.
I'm basically asking these thoughts to be put in a single PR related to sign commands, and then we can have discussions there. Same like we have done for other areas.
So are you suggesting that, and sorry, can you scroll up? I don't know who's sharing here.
I am.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so this is specific to tag to digest. So in my opinion, what's currently implemented is the baseline, and not because it's currently implemented, because I think it meets the scenario. I think if you're suggesting that a PR to the CLI API PR thingy that I had, that I add, and if you call -help on it, that it shows digest as the example, but I don't believe tag -- force really adds any value. So I can go open that PR and have that discussion, or we could just agree, that's part of why I put it here. Like, an issue often is the prelude to a PR.
I think we can take this separately. We almost.
I think we're running out of time. So let me quickly, because Rakesh can help the agenda items in the task list. And let's jump to the other topic that Ivan had and set up on the plugin discussion. Let's go to that first. Or next, let's go to that. So Steve or Milan, do you want to address Ivan's questions first about the plugin and signature format?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Let's jump to Ivan's action item or Ivan's
Oh, okay.
request.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
let's jump to that.
I saw the conversation, the thread that Ivan started. Pasted a link in the chat. That's where that error is being thrown. I don't think we have bandwidth to help debug. But if you get both notation go code locally and run through that code, what it seems like is in that specific case, this is a signature generator plugin. So notation provides the plugin the payload to sign. The plugin generates the hash. The plugin uses a specific signing algorithm, which it already advertises in the describe key API response. And then it generates the raw signature and sends it back. And then notation verifies that signature against what it expects, given the hashing, given the signing algorithm. And that's where it is failing. This will require some digging into, but that's I'm just describing the scenario where it's failing. I mean, that is, let me know if my understanding is not correct.
Yeah, so it's mostly just being kind of a learning curve on my part to understand how the plugin contract works. And so I some of it's being self-inflicted in terms of my testing. But so I got past a few things and I was able to take the signature request, get back a valid, I believe is a valid signature response. And I guess where the issue I'm seeing, and this is maybe it's my confusion, maybe I didn't do the right testing, but I'm looking at the plugin extensibility README, and I guess what is the contract? What is the plugin is expecting? Is it the actual JWT token, or just the payload part of it that I should be taking a hash of and signing and then sending it back? I guess that's what it was confusing.
Samir, if you can share the screen, that I sent.
Which PR do you want me to bring up?
The signature generator, I pasted in the chat.
Oh, pasted in the chat. Okay. Where is the chat? Chat. Okay. Okay. Sharing it right now. Somehow Zoom slows things down when videos are on. At least on my computer, I see that. Okay.
Are you saying you're watching Netflix while we're in this meeting?
No, I'm doing the meeting while watching Netflix.
So just quickly run through. There are two high-level interfaces. It's called the signature generator and the envelope generator. I think generally for KMS, HSM integration, signature generators suffice.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm focusing on. Yeah, so it's,
if you can scroll up. To implement signature generator, if you can stop there. For the where it says describe.
Right here, so yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah, there are two commands as part of this interface, the describe key and the generate signature. So did you implement both of them?
Yeah, everything is working fine. I can get a signature from my my system. I'm using the right key. I'm sort of hard coding things right now just to make sure I can get things to work. But I'll obviously need to make it much more compliant with the contract here.
Okay.
So I think the issue I'm having is the verification. When you go to there's a method.verify. It's the I forget where it is in the code.
If you can scroll down to the generate signature.
Oh, generate signature.
Yeah, okay. Scroll down, generate signature response. Yeah, right there. Scroll up a bit. You went past it.
Sorry, yeah.
Further up. Yeah, right there. Yeah. So here, this is the response. This signature is the raw signature. Just gave a payload, sign it using a given signing algorithm, and give back the raw signature.
Okay, so I guess my confusion is in the payload. So what I'm getting in terms of the request payload.
Yeah. So
I'm confused why that needs to be signed. I guess what needs to be, it needs to be base 64 encoded a second time.
Right. So the base 64 encoded a second time this is written from notation's perspective, what notation will do. So notation will encode it a second time. I think there's probably something missing here on that the plugin implementer should decode it once. That'll give you the actual payload.
Yeah, and just as a basis, so I'm using the Azure Key Vault notation plugin as a reference, right? So I pretty much copied what they had, that at least the logic, and so that's kind of where I'm basing off my code. And I noticed that it did a complete compute. It hashed the request.payload, but I wasn't sure if the payload was the entire JWT token or just the actual payload, which is the most important part that needs to be signed as opposed to the headers, right?
Okay, so yeah, the payload is we call it payload to sign, which means it is just one step before you actually sign it. So it's not the raw payload. It's we take the payload, attach the headers, etc., and create the JWS defined payload to sign. So that's what this payload contains.
Okay. So I should be taking a hash of that entire payload. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, you should be signing that entire payload. And I think I can look at this specific thing. The payload to sign is base encoded a second time. I think you'll have to decode it on your end.
Okay.
I can clarify on that. I'll need to have a look at what's currently implemented. Basically, that second encoding is because we are passing it through JSON channel. The request are JSON format.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, and I think Steve, I saw your chat about maybe providing my experience through a PR, just some documentation of what I've seen so far.
Yep. Sorry, I think that, it'd be great to get your perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to volunteer you to write something you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, like I said, most of it's probably just self-inflicted in terms of just my own testing. I wouldn't say I'm more of an amateur Go developer than anything else. And my focus has been more on the crypto side in general anyway. So cool.
The thing I want to highlight, Ivan, is we are still making spec changes. So there was a recent signature spec change that updates the JWS envelope as well as in what headers go in place, etc. What I'm saying is the spec is changing underneath this specific implementation. If you take that particular 0.9 release, that's based on the previous version of the spec. So I wouldn't I'm trying to set correct expectations here. I think just having the initial plugin mechanism working and maybe the signature working is a good goal. I just want you to be just want to convey that it's going to change and it will break your plan. So I don't want you to get too ahead too. And I can specify when the signature spec is in a solid form. We have updates done, and give me just a second. We have been updating spec, and we have also been refactoring implementation right now. So I think even if you try to make sure you take the code for the particular tag if you're going to use the repository locally to debug. All right.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Samir, was there anything else? I probably have another 5 minutes or so.
No, I think Ivan had one more question regarding PKCS 11, or sorry, was it the signature format? We didn't make sure we address.
I think that was it. We talked
That was
about the signature format. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. So we are done with that. I think Steve, you had something on PKCS 8, or was it 11? I want to use Milin's time.
Yeah. So let me just pull it up. I was going to forward you the email because it's obviously there's some internal conversation with Jared, who was doing some research. So basically, the standard library has some support for PKCS 8 and 12. And PKCS can parse unencrypted keys, but not encrypted ones. There's a module for parsing PKCS 8 private keys. And there's this UMark here. Hold on. And I'm just
For the
reading.
deprecated crypto library response, is that what you're talking about?
This was, sorry, this was the, whether we can encrypt and decrypt local keys.
Okay, gotcha.
Remember, there was an ask to go find out if there's a library that we can incorporate so that we can support local signing. So it looks like there is some there, but it's not complete. And when I asked Shiwei more about it, he says the current requirement is to encrypt wrap key and decrypt unwrapped local keys. Since the suggested library can only handle unencrypted keys, it's not useful in our case. So of course, Shiwei can write the code. The question is, due to the current dev resource constraints, which we've all been talking about, and the lack of libraries, a common theme, the opinion is it's a lower priority. So we suggest deferring the work to post RC1.
This is for the encrypted.
This is how we handle the local signing keys. Basically, do we want to support password protection and encrypted keys?
I think it's a tricky question because we are shipping a security product. The RC1 needs to have some, I don't know how to say, like baseline level of security expectations.
Yeah, I'm smirking because it's the same
It
conversation. We
wouldn't
just
be
had
a
a
great
directory
story
structure.
to ship it with unencrypted. Basically, we have few choices, right? Don't ship this at all. Local key signing. That is not a great story.
Yep.
We need to support that. And then how do we support encryption, like based on standard mechanisms, or try to do something custom? I think we can still research a bit on this. If we don't want to use standard, you can use, I don't have a great answer right now, but we don't need to rely only on the standard formats on key encryption. We could define, we could use a secure algorithm, say this is our own format for now, get started with it.
So I'm struggling. I don't disagree with you conceptually. This is an RC. It's not the final. The fact that the flow starts with generate test certificate is what the API is. I think the docs are there to explain the concept. And as we talked in the other meeting, Sigstr is no different. So it's not like we're being insecure in comparison. We do have a model of what we want to do. It's just because it is not the mainline scenario. Like the mainline scenario is to use remote signing because that is the most secure model, period. The fact that we have a usable path, which is kind of clear, that it is for getting started demo purposes, is a good thing to get people started, because we don't want people to have to sign, like until we get a HashiCorp vault that I can do Docker run and get a couple of things running locally. I don't think we can just say, hey, here's an easy way to use a remote key signing provider. So I don't want to lose the usability aspect, because that is one of the places we're getting pinged on while being secure. But in comparison on priorities, this is why I'd argue that the directory location is actually more of a secure problem than this one, just from a pure priority standard.
I think for this one, I don't think I fully agree on, you can't, at least my view, can't expect everybody to be using remote signing from day one. There'll be existing folks having existing integration with their own local systems, or however they manage keys with their own custom systems, storing secrets somewhere. I think we need to give a proper support path here.
So are you proposing that we do the extra engineering work to enable it, to enable the encryption and decryption?
Yeah, I think we should. I think I'm still not sure on the boundary of what is a test generate. We did the test generate in Alpha 1, but we don't have a great getting started. Let's.
All I'm asking is,
I
think the pivot points, right? Because the whole triangle, resources, features, time. Do we think I think I'm hearing you advocate that we want a local signing scenario. So and we want to keep that in RC1. Is that accurate for what you're suggesting?
I think let's pick this up again. I want to make sure we understand the implications of RC1.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, if we think it's important for RC1, then you're saying we don't want to yank it. And then if we don't want to yank it, do we put more resources, more time in to fill the gaps in the libraries, which we're already behind? So that becomes a prioritization question. Or do we yank the API altogether? And I think we're saying, I was suggesting for getting started experience, you're saying even for some scenarios, production scenarios, some people might want to use that.
Yeah,
So then it's just a matter of something's got to give.
Let's park the topic. We can
Okay.
take it on Monday or Thursday.
Yeah, let's give it some more thought. Now that we have data that we require more work, nothing is free on this one. Let's use that to think about it offline.
I forwarded you the thread.
Oh,
Cool.
Okay. Thanks. Let's see. Let's go back to the agenda items we haven't covered. So I think Milan has to break. That's fine. David, let's take your project management thing for first, and then we can talk about the action items quickly. If you want to share your screen and show us what you're thinking.
Sure. Okay, give me a second. I'll share my screen out. Okay. Should see it now. Yeah.
No, still seeing. You're showing the Excel file. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why this is not auto disappearing. Okay. Just trying to change tabs, but it's right in the way. Does anybody know? Oh, dock to bottom. Okay, well, that's better. Okay, so I created a new notary planning project.
Yep.
So and it's it's using the GitHub beta. And one of the things that I was able to do is add one of the features that are there is that you can add all issues in a repository. So I've done that for everything but the roadmap, and I can just add all the roadmap items right now just for completeness, just so you can see how we do it. It's we just go into here, organization, select them all. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so under projects, organization, and yeah, I don't know. Okay. There's a way to select them all. I don't know why I'm not seeing that right now, but yeah, so I added them all into the notary planning.
Okay.
By that one-click option there. And within this, I added some additional fields. So you can see effectively everything that is there, the same start date, end date, added a priority, the effort weeks, and then milestone. And so one of the things I started doing is also starting to try and align the name of the milestones, just because at least for now, we're trying to have all these things working together towards RC1 and whatnot. And so I started that, but then the other thing is the plan would be to get everything into here, and then from here you can really filter and slice and dice and do whatever you want. So you could have filter only milestone RC1, filter only milestone alpha 2, filter by status. You can go into a board view, right? So we can see things that are in process. But this way we have one place to view everything.
Nice.
And then, you know, the idea would be to get this spreadsheet out of this, I mean, to get everything off the spreadsheet into just GitHub and put it, you know, once we do that, I have a column here for migrated. And when it's migrated, I know that it's in GitHub projects beta. And I also know that I've added the equivalent information that's in the spreadsheet into the list. So I've added, you know, what's the effort, the weeks. We already have an owner assigned to it, and components really not necessary because it's going to be in the repo where it resides. And, you know, if we want to add, you know, tags for like spec, right? That's what I did as well. So you can see that we have, you know, we have a spec tag, for instance, with this one. And we have the linked PRs, and it just makes it a lot cleaner and easier to see everything. And we can, from here also, I started playing with Gantt Lab. There's a bunch of different tools that suck in data from GitHub, you know, projects and issues, and, you know, give you different views. I'm not sure we would use this one or not, and I need some more effort on that. But at a minimum, you know, I would argue, and, you know, open to feedback, I'd argue that this is as good, if not, I would say better than the current method that we have, where we have, you know, a spreadsheet and we have stuff in all the different repos, and you know, we have one place to view everything, and that'll help us to plan our timelines and our workbacks and whatnot.
No, this is great. I have a couple of questions. Number one, is it just a point in time, or from this point onwards, any issue added in any repo will automatically show up here?
Okay, so yeah, so that was the next thing that I was going to get to. So it was perfect timing. I actually created a PR as well for this thing called the add to GitHub projects beta. So what this does is it enables anytime somebody adds any issue, you can tag it and add it to that same project. I've actually already got this PR up here, and that's only for the notation repo. But if we like this, then obviously we would do this for every repo, and then every single issue that gets created, it goes back to this board. And what it does is it adds, at least for now, I just added a tag of needs triage. And then that way we can say any new issues that come in across any repo, we know that, you know, we need to look at it. And then once we triage it, we remove the needs triage label and put, you know, other labels and other things on it to, you know, to know that we've looked at it.
I like it. So I have one more follow-up question then. On that big dashboard view where everything is being shown here,
Yep.
Is there a way to filter by recent activity on this one as well? Because I think there's some issues in some repos which are so old that even if we don't get to them, this will be okay for our release. So is there a way to sort it by issues with recent activities on them?
I don't know. I haven't tried to look at that. I would imagine so. There's so many like options here. You know, but I think so. You know, this numbered list here just seems to be, it does seem to be somewhat correlated with the date. So if you look at this, like, you know, issue 183, and it kind of goes to newer ones. So like this one is issue 15, right? So there is a general, like, this is an old one. Like, I'm guessing this is like, yeah, 2 years ago. So it does, I think, innately do some sorting by age, but I'm not sure off the top of my head how to do more granular filtering than that. But I do think this is something we should be doing anyway. It's like, if these are old issues, we need to start closing them out or whatever. Yep. And you know, or at least know we've looked at them and put them in a category. So yeah, but I mean, we can, if we want to ignore all the old issues, that's an option too. We would just, you know, filter everything based on the, you know, the milestone that's set And then that way we can actually utilize, you know, whatever the work back is and have a more focused view.
Yep. I have no more questions. Anybody else have any questions?
I have one question. Hey, David, this is Rakesh.
Mhm.
Who can make changes to this board?
I think that it is right now just the release team and maintainers, but yeah, I mean, there's we can add. I mean, I fully expect that we will add more views here. I just kind of wanted to show the everything view with all the columns first. But yeah, I mean, for instance, we, you know, like the immediate applicable one would be, okay, RC1, right? And then have an RC1 view, and then we can start to, you know, have a more granular list here.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, if I can make changes to some of the items here, like maybe mark a issue as done or something like that. Or
Yeah, that's the status.
Yeah.
I think if you change the status of your own issue, it will reflect here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the issues that this dynamically pulls. In fact, I went up to a different tab and made the change to the issue, and then I noticed, like, I went back to the dashboard tab and it was like already updated. So I don't know if it's real time, but it seems like it's pretty close. And you can edit within this as well, which is also really nice. So if I wanted to add labels, I could just, within the context of this table, just add whatever labels I want to that issue. So that I think will help us to, you know, clean things up a little more efficiently, a little quicker.
Okay.
But the other, so I mean, as part of this, I mean, I'd really like Samir, Yumi, and Finman to like really spend some time maybe tackling different parts of the backlog so that we can get everything out of the spreadsheet. And then the other thing would be get everything out of roadmap. Because there's a lot of duplication and confusion between the roadmap and what's up there. And so there's a couple issues that I said migrated to the issue, but I didn't want to close those out until we agreed that you know, we're good with that approach.
I think this is good. I think for a while we'll run both of them in parallel until we get all the kinks worked out. So it shouldn't be maybe for a week or two if you run the spreadsheet and this in parallel to see as you're migrating it. No, I think this is a good view as to where we want to be. The roadmap repo was supposed to be or is supposed to be a agreed on view, which is not changed automatically. It is changed on purpose with deliberate thought.
Right. So you can still achieve the same thing with this, basically by adding things to the milestone. It's not really any, I don't think, any different, right? I mean, I mean, we're the only ones who have control to add whether it's in a milestone or not. So therefore, it's right. That's, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but
no, that, which is fine. I think the roadmap just had the intent, and the specific work is done in specific repos. So one roadmap item may have 10 linked issues to it across more than one repo even. So that's the way I was thinking about roadmap. Roadmap is more of an aggregate view, using a term from scaled agile programming as more of a feature, and that feature may have multiple code check-ins across different check-ins across different repos. That's the way I'm thinking about it.
I gotcha.
Okay, I think this is good. Let me quickly go back and use the remaining 10 minutes, David, if you don't have anything else to present.
Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, let me take the screen then. Thanks for this. I think this is good. Let's just continue iterating on it. Let me share my screen now. And we identified some work items that need to probably be assigned, otherwise they're going to block people, or whoever has that action item to urge them to complete it sooner. And Steve, don't know how we can get things done faster, but just listening to things that are coming up, they're getting blocked for some of us. So let me share my screen on the same spreadsheet that was being shown by David. We marked some items here, and I put a comment on this so we can have a discussion here. The first one is, can we split this work further? This is 3 weeks of work assigned to Milind and Shive, work in progress. And so what I was thinking is, can I divide this work into 2 parts? And Shive gets some part of it, and then Milind or Rakesh pick up some part of it, so that it's not an in-between state. That was one proposal I had. If you guys agree, then I can do it offline, work with Rakesh to say which part he may like to work on, or Milind, and then we make progress on it. One request I had. Other one was same thing here. This is 3 weeks worth of work assigned to Shive. It won't start before 6/14. If it's 3 weeks of work starting 6/14, we are in late June or early July at that point. So can we split this work and divide and conquer on this one? That's a request I wanted to say. Similar comments I have for some of the other ones, like on the sign command. I don't have a confirmed owner who is going to work on it. We said Quinn may work on it, Milind may work on it, but I don't have a confirmed owner that we can chase down. So Milind is not here.
I'm curious. Did you how much have you had a chance to run through the current code? Because some of these things, my interpretation is some of these are read as not knowing that how much is already done versus a delta that we have to tweak. So for instance, the verify command clearly has to get updated because we have the new trust store policy. The sign command has a bunch of functionality already in it, vis-a-vis the things we're talking about, the flag or not.
Yep.
Have you had a chance to read through that to understand the delta? Or you're just saying there's sign that needs to be done without knowledge of what's done already?
So I think sign to be done as per the agreed on spec. So we talked about here that we need the spec we need to agree on whatever is the delta work which comes out of it, whether it's removing some commands or removing some filters or adding some variable, whatever it is that we agree here should be reflected in the sign command. That's that work identified here. I think there is some delta which your PR may bring up. Either we don't support or we support, but we need to take it out. So that's the work I'm trying to identify here.
Okay, so it's not there's in the spirit of there is a lot of work. It's not that one particular item is multiple weeks worth of work. It's just you're saying there's an unknown quantity there in addition to the other stuff that is known to be large.
Correct. So once the spec is finalized, we say then we just go and look at what the current implementation is and then adjust the current implementation to whatever is the spec that you make us all agree to, right? As part of your PR.
Not I make anything.
No, what I'm saying is you're going to drive us. You're going to drive us to the conclusion here. Once the conclusion is made, somebody goes in. So there are things like that which don't have a confirmed owner. I wanted to have a confirmed owner on this. With Milind and Shiva not available, I guess we can't do it today. Those are the kind of things I'm running into, what I was looking at. Same thing here, signature retriever and filtering. We said community, but I haven't seen anybody else from the community pick it up. So we need to get an owner assigned between, say, Shiva's team and Milind's team and saying, hey, can somebody pick it up? So I've put some comments here, and some of these have to be picked. For example, this work is related to this work over here. So if you divide this work, somebody has to pick up this work. A lot of this has to happen more quickly than, say, once a week. So what I was asking here was, what mechanisms can we use to automatically track progress on these? And if somebody is getting blocked, how do we get focus on that? It's an open question.
I think for the item 19 and 28, I'm currently blocked on them. I'm actively working on the verification side of things, like using the trust store and trust policy and verifying the signature is valid. So these two things are blocking me right now, and I think we can pick these up. I don't think we can wait till 6/14 to get the basic general signature done. So I think those things we can start picking up. I think we need to shuffle a few things so that.
Wait, if you pick this up, then you will drop something else. So that's the part I'm struggling. Like I will not encourage you to get blocked and unblock your progress. But if you work on this and something else gives, then we need to have Shiva look at something else. If this is blocking you, So how do we do these assignments quickly and in real time versus waiting once a week is my challenge.
I think currently there are a few specs that Shiva is working on, like the registry authentication and directory structure specification, those things. I think those don't have quotas right now. Those can be picked up by Shiva or Shiva's team.
He's not here today to make a decision on it. So David, this is probably something that you may need to coordinate for us. So what we heard Rakesh saying is he's split on this work. So I said, okay, then whatever you split on, pick up that work, and then so that you are not blocked. That was my proposal. So are you guys okay with, letting say Rakesh figure out which work he's blocked on, create a new row here, mark what he's going to work on, and then leave the remaining work for Shiva? Is that an acceptable approach? We divide and conquer, we make progress.
I don't want to speak for David, but just in the sense of, we don't have to have conversation just once a week. We can be completely async in the Slack channel. So being dynamic around the pieces is awesome. But it's just, we can use the Notary V2 Slack channel for exactly these conversations and
Okay.
sign
Yep.
things.
Okay. So I've put comments here, David, if you want to look at it, the comments I've put. So I will encourage you to look at the comments I put. I did not change anything. I don't want to change anything quickly. So I wanted to just put the comments in and say, hey, these are the things I'm struggling with. And when I look at this tab, and most of it will not transfer into that project management tool that I talked about, but until that happens, I'm using this as the single source of truth. Okay, so we will work on making those changes. Rakesh, if you pick something up, drop a note on the channel saying you're picking this up, and work with me to create a new line item here, and then we can add that work here. Speaking of new line item, we identified one more work, which I put in the agenda item. We need an owner for that as well. Where is that? We identified a work item here. We need.
Sorry, which work item?
Add new work items for directory structure implementation based on spec. We only had the spec part. We were not thinking ahead, or I was not thinking ahead and saying, hey, that may have some implementation work as well. I thought it's a directory. What implementation work there will be? But Rakesh is telling me, no, there is implementation work required. So I'm saying, okay. So I will add this work in the Excel spreadsheet, and I will work with Rakesh to split some of those items you saw here. So give me till end of day today, split some of these items. And basically this will allow us to block progress.
Are we ready to start doing what David was suggesting, or maybe I misunderstood the status of it?
No, we can definitely do that.
Instead of the spreadsheet, do it in GitHub.
Yeah, I will do it in spreadsheet first and then translate to GitHub. I think the GitHub migration will probably be a two-step tango. We do both in parallel for a while, because we just drove consensus on these work items. So I'm going to work from this list. And then as David and I get comfortable with the project, then we can bring others on board there. Okay, I think we completed all the items we wanted to cover in the agenda. I will update the meeting notes for that, and we can sync on Monday in person and then over Slack before that.
And I'll bring up the topic of time slots again, because with Finman joining, he was noticing that Thursday, and he was struggling to try to figure out could he attend. I said, no. Thursday was not meant for China. Please do not try to work outside of your comfort of time zones. We did this for others in UK and others to join. I'd leave this for group. I don't really have an opinion other than to make sure the people that want to be engaged can be engaged as often as possible. If this time slot was added so that people in UK could join, but that's not happening, or even East Coast US. So if we wanted to make this more Asia time friendly, so we can get more regular conversations with the China team, I'll just leave that open as a conversation.
Okay. So
Yeah, and then where's the record? Because at a bare minimum, we need to make sure they can listen to the recordings. Is that
The recording is lamely in my blocked hands because I have the Zoom account. So maybe that's, I need to talk to Amy. I need to go back and look. I think it's tied to my personal email. So I can see if I can get somebody else to help me so I can share the load of posting it. It's not technically difficult. It's just tedious to download it from Zoom, create the YouTube channel. So it just takes a chunk of time. And it only works on Chrome. It doesn't work on Edge. So it's just, there's some tedium that goes back and forth on it. So I will, well, I guess from a time allocation, I think you'd rather me spend time on the CLI spec than posting, but maybe what I can do is find out from Amy if I can get somebody else access to post the Zoom channels.
yeah, and I'm just feeling like there should be something we could automate so that it's minimal overhead for anybody.
That would be a request from everybody in CNCF that has this. The big picture is they were trying to use another platform for all the community events, and that is not happening as fast as they would like. So that's why people haven't really invested in trying to figure out how to automate the Zoom to YouTube, because they're hoping that this new platform will just by default make it easier. But it's also been several months since that conversation has happened. So yeah, that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks folks.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
David. Thanks, David.
Bye-bye.
It's good to have somebody who knows GitHub do this work, because I've been struggling with making it work. I'm amazed at the clarity you've brought to it. So thank you for that.
Right on.
Thank you, David.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.